Everybody, great morning, great morning, great morning. Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses. We are just getting ready to get started, guys. I hope everybody is having a great morning. Welcome, 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 welcome. We are having a lot going on in the background over here this morning. Super excited about picking up where we left off last week. For those of you guys who are just joining us, I know this is a holiday time of the season. This is a time of the year where folks got so many things going on. It's just kind of crazy. So we're super excited, guys. Get ready. Let's go ahead and give us some thumbs up. Do me a favor, if you are chiming in, do me a favor and let us know where you're coming in from. Sheri will be jumping in a second. Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses. She's in the background making some coffee because I'm going to tell you something right now, guys. We are moving just a little bit slow. How was your week? How was your week? What's up, Ken? Hey, Karen. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Is everybody good? Everybody good? We got a lot going on this weekend, guys. So much happening this weekend. I'm super excited about today. You got orange juice, baby. Uh-oh. Sheri breaking out something new, y'all. Hey, Sinead, what's going on, girl? What's going on? What's going on, sis? We're going to be jumping in just 1 second. Hey, Taya. Good morning, guys. Where are you chiming in from? By the way, where are you guys chiming in from? Where in the country are you guys chiming in from? Good morning, good morning. Virginia Beach is in the house. Good morning. That's what's up. Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses, guys. If you are on YouTube, do me a favor. Jump on our Breakfast with the Brookses page. I'm getting ready to go live on YouTube in just a second. Instagram rather, in just 1 quick second so that I can go ahead and get us up and running before I get started. But we're going to get started here in just 1 second. Super excited about all of what we got happening this morning for Breakfast with the Brookses. We're going to pick up our conversation next week. Marsha, what's going on? Is that video? Yes, it is a video, Marsha. I had an animator put it together for me, and he's pretty amazing. Guy that came through my master class, and he loves what we do, and he said, you know what? I want to hook y'all up with something I do. He's an animator and a creator. And he put together this video for me. I'll show you how it works in just a second. Dallas lost. They did. And it stinks. We are some trash this year. I am not ashamed to say we need a new coach is what the problem is. That's what the problem. This year, last year, the year before that. Shanae, you got to be from D.C. coming in. Look, you got to be a Redskins fans coming in the building talking about some Dallas loss. Girl, you about to get put off my live feed this morning. I ain't messing with you. You about to be put off my live feed. Let me go ahead on it. Here you go, Marsha. Here you go real quick. There goes the video. See it? There we are. And there we are. Ha there we go. And there we're not. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses. We're trying to get ourselves together. Good morning. Is everybody doing good? Can y'all hear us okay? Are we good? You're not in this shot. We're getting ready to go live. Come on, let's get Instagram on and popping, and then we're going to get going. Are y'all ready? Do me a favor, guys. Share this out. We got a few people listening in this morning. Right, Candace? Don't start no stuff. Candace, my sister Candace is a Redskins fan. She know better than to come in the room talking about some Dallas loss. She know better. I'm sorry, babe. She know better because she mess around and get. All right, guys, we're back. Let me see if we're good. Let us know if we're good. This is the first time this has happened, so let us know if we are back. Can you guys hear and or see us? Let us know. If you can, give us a thumbs up. That's a replay, baby. Turn it down. Check 22222. Can you guys see us and hear us? Let us know, guys, because we're not sure if we're live yet. We're not quite sure. We had some technical difficulties. It's the first time this has ever happened, and it looks like we went off. Looks like we're getting people back. We're good. That's because y'all came in talking bad about them Cowboys.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
We know they bad. The whole NFC stinks. So be quiet. Listen, welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses. We're excited. We're back. So it looks like that we're back. See and hear us good. Okay, awesome. Thanks for hanging around. So, guys, listen, we're going to get into this content.
The NFL coming at all of y'all.
The NFL said, y'all better put some respect on our name. Don't be coming at us all crazy. No, I love it. Babe, listen, let's settle down just a little bit. We're going to go back and we're going to be talking about the pathway to intimacy, talking about our children. Guys, do me a huge favor. Before we get into today's content, I want you to talk to us just a little bit. Let's try and get a little Q&A going on here. Karen, you're here. Let's talk a little bit if we can. If we can get a couple of you guys to engage us just a little bit from a Q&A perspective. How do you connect with your children? How do you connect with your children? When I say connect with your children, what are the kind of things that you do to deliberately and very intentionally connect with your children? For those of you guys who are just jumping in, my name is Glenn P. Brooks Jr. We apologize for the technical difficulties. I'm a relationship coach. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. And sitting here next to me is the lovely light-skinned young lady with the brick red lipstick on.
And a bruise on my hand. Sheri Brooks Jr., author, speaker, relationship, and life balance coach. Great to be with you guys this morning. Sorry about the technical difficulties this morning. Glad you guys came back.
Glad you came back. So listen, I want to find out, we've been talking about for a number of weeks, baby, the pathway to intimacy. And we've been dealing with it, particularly in the area of couples. We've been talking a lot about it. How does that look when you are, even if you're a single person, how do you create a pathway to get to intimacy? One of the challenges that we have as relationship coaches is that we often find that people's relationships grow stale as they get older.
Right.
They don't get fresher as they get older.
Mm-hmm.
So unlike wine that gets better over time, it's more like bread that gets stale over time, right? You see how your face just did? That's a bad analogy, right?
Yes.
It is a bad analogy because it should be more like wine.
Right.
It should be getting better over time.
Right.
But unfortunately, people's relationships get moldy. They get nasty. They get stale. They get hard. They get brittle. They get something that they don't like. They don't enjoy. They don't want to be around.
Right.
And I believe it's because of a lack of intimacy.
Right.
And one of the things that we had defined a while back was, this is way too late to take my daughter out. I got it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. We're going to get to that, Karen. I love that. I love that. It's a great example. But one of the things that we're finding out is that when there's a lack of intimacy in any relationship, be it with your spouse, be it with your significant other, even be it with your child, you're going to really, really find that the relationship is going to grow old quick.
Right, right. And it takes you being on purpose and being
intentional.
I got stuck for a minute. Being intentional in making the relationship stay fresh. Relationships, I think oftentimes, especially with parents, we just assume because we had the child that it's my child that I'm going to have an intimate relationship with them. But you have to work at that, you know, they're an individual being just like you are. And if you don't work at developing an intimate relationship with your child, you won't have one. Just because you're their parent, you have a parental relationship with them. But that does not equate to an intimate relationship with them. And I think that even in relationships, oftentimes we get complacent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we together.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yep.
And we stop working on the relationship. We stop building that intimacy. We stop focusing on that. And over time, that will fade.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it'll dry up. And you'll look up one day and look at the person next to you. And it's like you don't know them.
Yeah.
You know, you've lost that connection with the person.
Exactly. So we're just jumping on Instagram. Thanks, Candace, for jumping on with us here on Instagram. Do me a favor, Instagram. Share this out. Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses. We had some technical difficulties with our YouTube channel. And so we had to work that out before we could even get you guys joined. What's going on, Jude? Good to see you, girl. Hopefully everything is well with you on the West Coast. But we're excited. Breakfast with the Brookses, we've been dealing with over the last couple of weeks, the pathway to intimacy, particularly in the area of couples, in the area of relationships. And we're drilling down and finishing out this series talking about intimacy with your children. Mm-hmm. And I think that there is a component in intimacy that most people do not even factor in. And as a result of that, they don't get the kind of connection that they're looking for. And what we found out, by the way, guys, if you missed any of those sessions that we did over the last couple of weeks for IG, you can click the link in the bio and check out the replays of our previous sessions. That will help you guys really connect the dots there. For you guys here on YouTube, you guys can go to our channel and check out the replays of last week. But babe, we talked about the fact that friendship is the connection, is the component that when you develop a healthy friendship, it breeds intimacy.
Right, in relationships with your spouse, with your significant other. And last week we started talking about with your children, and there were a couple points that we talked about specifically with your children, because we're not advocating. You have to have a friendly relationship with your child.
Yeah.
But we're not saying you have to be friends.
Right. There's a difference. There's a huge difference. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. A lot of times people associate the fact that, well, I'm the parent and not their friend. And so what they do is they disconnect from the component within friendship. By the way, guys, for those that don't know, friendship itself has several different stages of it. Mm-hmm. And we talked about that in previous broadcasts. We're not going to get into that today. Again, check out our replays to be able to figure that one out. But within the pyramid, if you will, of friendship, there are levels to friendship. One of the levels, the first level, is a stranger level. It's the level where you don't know each other, where you get to know one another. And I think that there is a place where parents often assume that they know their children when they really don't. You know your child, but you don't know them relationally, because if you don't stop and spend time and get to know who they are as a person, I guarantee you it will cause a hiccup when it comes to connecting to their person, not to them, your child. There's a huge difference. And I think that what happens is that when you really need to be able to get them a truth, get them some wisdom, get them something that you really would want them to grab hold of, that intimacy is the connection that allows that bridge to connect those dots. Does that make sense, guys? And when that happens, whatever it is that you're trying to communicate, you can communicate it so much easier, because at that particular point, a connection has been made.
Right.
So today we're going to go over 3 more things. Last week we talked about 3 things that you need to actually do in order to increase your ability to connect to your children. Last week we talked about 3 things. I'm going to recap that just a little bit for those excuse me, that weren't here. We're not going to get into them. But lastly, and we're going to give you 3 more things this week, and makes total sense, Candace said. No, it does. And let me just say this one caveat before we go on. Our children are grown now, right? Our youngest is 26. Our oldest is 34. And what we've learned is, in retrospect, there were things we did to get to know them then that has paid off now.
Right. We didn't know what we were doing at that point in time was breeding an intimate relationship. And we're going to kind of get into specifically some of the things we did today. But to go over the 3 things.
Now, I want you to kind of elaborate on that just a little bit, if you could.
Okay. Like, for one thing, we decided very early on that we were going to allow our children to have a voice. And what we meant by that is that they got to speak up when they were bothered, when they were upset. They had to do it respectfully, but we let them learn very early that they had a voice and that their opinion mattered.
Yeah.
And in that one thing alone, that breeds a level of intimacy, because it makes them feel important. It makes them feel like they're a part, that they're not just this minion that you're overlording, but
right.
They're actually a part of the family, and that their feelings are valid, that their thoughts are valid. And so that created a level of dialogue when they were young, mm-hmm. that as they've gotten older, we're able to have, we were having, I don't want to say adult conversations, but we were having mature conversations with them, even as teenagers, as
absolutely
young adults, and even as preteens, because we allowed them to have a voice and allowed them to share.
100%. So last week we said there were 3 things, guys. If you have an opportunity, I want you to put this in the chat. If you're not driving, I want you to put this in the chat. Number one, we said be available. If you want to connect the dots, if you want to really, really develop the pathway of intimacy towards your children, is number 1, you have to be available. And we said really quickly that being available is not necessarily always being on their page, but it is being aware that they are, really not even aware, because that's number 2. But available, when I say available, it means that they have a place in your life. They are primary in your life.
They have
access to you, and therefore they know that they can come to you. When you have a child that you have to say to them, you can come to me, right? That's when you know you have a problem.
Right, and being available is not just because you're physically there does not mean that you're available.
Right. Children need to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that whatever you're doing, you're not too busy that you can't stop that for a moment and get on their page. Does that make sense, guys? Because if they do, what they'll do is they'll begin to shut down, and it'll cause them to be able to disconnect from you. You need to take a step out for a second. Okay. All right. Cool. So yeah, we've been battling some stuff over here, guys. Good morning, Karen. So if either one of us got to step off the show to go to the bathroom, then y'all will understand. We've been sick in this house for the last couple of days, and we're trying to figure it out. So I'll just leave it at that. So this is live, and I just want to let y'all know, if one of us disappear off screen, you'll understand we'll be back. But anyway, so what I want to do real quick, somebody said, well, where'd that come from? Sheri just slipped me a note, so it's okay. Mm-hmm. So here's what I want y'all to understand, is that number one is be available. Number two, you need to be aware. Put that in the chat. Be aware. Number two, be aware. Mm-hmm. Sheri, when we say be aware, what we really mean is being very keen of your surroundings, being very clued in on what's going on. This is almost like developing that sixth sense. My spiritual people would say discerning. Right? This is where you need to be really attuned to what's going on. When I was in the military, you were in the military, I never will forget, I don't know if you had this experience in boot camp, when the drill sergeant will be up front, there will be 200 soldiers or 200 Marines in your case in a room. We're in class. We're sitting there. And then all of a sudden, one of them moves. And then all the drill sergeants will key in on you. Brooks, you just moved. I'm like, bro, how could you tell that I moved? There's 200 people in this room. Right. What do you mean I just moved? And he'd be right. I'd want to argue whether or not he was right. Well, you wasn't going to argue. Right. But in my mind, I'm like, bro, like, how you going to single me out? Here's what I learned later. What they had the ability to do was sit in one place and sort of scan the area peripherally, and they were very aware of the makeup of the room. So as soon as one thing shifted or it moved out of place, it caused them to key in on it. Right. Does that make sense? And so they set the rooms up so that even though it's only 2 or 3 of them and it's 200 of us, they could see what was happening and how to be able to key in on certain things.
Right, and I think that as parents, oftentimes when we're so busy doing, we're always doing stuff. We always got things going on. Sometimes we don't key in on our children. We're not aware of what's going on with them. We don't pay attention to little signs, because we're so busy. And I think that in order to develop an intimate relationship with your children, you have to be aware. You have to pay attention to those little things. You have to be, you should notice when your child's mood changes. You should notice when all of a sudden they've started to isolate themselves.
You should notice when they stop eating. You should notice when they're eating more. You should notice when they are talking less.
Right. If they have a friend that they normally hang with, if they don't talk about that person anymore, but we will just, because we're living our life and we're going through everything that we do, oftentimes we don't purpose be aware of what's going on with them. We don't make that a priority. We just, they're okay. If something's wrong, they're going to come and tell us. No, they're not.
Right,
and so oftentimes, if you don't pay attention, if you aren't aware and you're not able to go to them and be like, hey, I noticed you haven't been talking about Johnny lately. You guys okay?
Is everything good?
Or I noticed you've been coming home from school and just going in your room. You haven't been going outside to play lately. Is everything good? What's going on? And they may not initially say something, but know that even them noticing that you notice
that's a game changer right there. For those of you guys who might be just hopping on, welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses. We're talking about developing the pathway or figuring out the pathway to intimacy where your children are concerned. And what we have said in the past is that the friendship component that's missing out of intimacy is where most people are failing in this building process, because we're not building our friendship. There's a friendly connection that when parents really understand how that looks with your children, and you're able to do the dance around being parent and being friend, and you're friendly. I'm going to get into some things a little bit later. It changes the game, because what it does is it causes the kid to let their guards down, and now all of a sudden they want to connect with you. Mm-hmm. That's the game. The game is not them having to. The game is not them making them feel like it's necessary. When your child has this desire to communicate or to connect with you, you've won.
Right.
Okay? Even if they don't have the ability. I need y'all to hear that. When they have the desire, let me tell you, the desire is they're sitting in your space.
Right. They want to sit up under you.
That's how you know they desire to connect to you.
Mm-hmm.
They may not have the ability to because they're not saying anything. But you know they have a desire to connect because they stay around you voluntarily. Even, regardless of the age.
Right.
Does that make sense? They choose to be in your space. When my son comes to town for Thanksgiving, he says, can I stay with you guys this weekend instead of a hotel? That means he wants to be in our space. He could stay in a hotel. He's grown. Yes, you could. Now, yes, he's saving money, but let me tell how many of y'all know that they'd rather spend the money than spend time with you if they really ain't trying to be with you. Let's be dead real. Hello? Right. Anybody with grown kids, y'all know they will find that money. Right. You get what I'm saying? So for that reason, that's the point I'm making. So we're helping you guys on this. So number one, we said you need to be available. Number two, we said you need to be aware. Number three, this is critical, and I need to help you guys understand that this is recapping last week. Be authentic. Put that in the chat. Be authentic. Now, let me tell you just off the break, guys. Being authentic and being real are slightly two different things. Some of y'all say, well, I'm keeping it real with them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being authentically you. To be authentic will cause you to have to be vulnerable.
Right. Right.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. But to be authentic is going to cause you to be vulnerable.
Now, being authentic does not mean that you sit your child down at 5 and tell them your whole life history and everything that you've gone through, traumatic.
We are not saying that.
Experience that you've ever had. That's not what we're saying. Being authentic is that as situations
Karen,
arise,
I ain't messing with you, Karen.
What's she talking about?
She talking about I'd rather pay rather than stay with my dad in the Caribbean. Look, and y'all got to understand, she lives in Toronto.
Right.
She's going to go visit her father from Toronto, Canada, to the Caribbean, and she'd rather pay to stay in a hotel than to stay with her father. That's because he did not do the work of creating an intimate connection with his daughter. And now that she's grown, she'll come see him, but she ain't staying at his house. Does that make sense? Let me tell you something right now. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't want my kids coming from halfway around the globe and they don't want to stay at my house.
Right.
Like, bruh, come on.
Right.
Come on. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
But being authentic is as the situations arise, being able to, and this is not even saying, well, I know what you're going through. This is, the truth of the matter is you don't know what your child is going through in the year 2019, even though you were 16 in 1972. Whatever it was. But it's being able to relate, being able to have a level of empathy, being able to just let them see the authentic you, even when you're bothered, when you're hurt. Now, this also does not mean, and this is for my single mothers particularly, this does not mean you go through a breakup with your boyfriend and now you in there with your child.
Both y'all eating popcorn or eating ice cream.
Telling them how horrible this dude was and how heartbroken you are. That's not what being authentic is either. It's just being you, not being one person.
That's it.
At home.
That's
and
it.
then being another person outside of the home.
That's it.
It's being able to let them see the real you and they know that you're one way all the time. You're not going to change.
Right.
When you're around your friends, all of a sudden you the parent talking about, don't do that. We don't do that at home. Goodness well, they do that at home.
Yes, you do.
And so being authentic is being honest, having integrity, and your children are able to see that you have a level of integrity. Now, part of that is you being able to share, like I said, when they're going through certain situations as those arise, being able to share with them that you can relate to where they are. But more so being authentic is them knowing that you're not Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
And that's the key right there. I think that's where I want to stay with this, guys. When we're talking about being authentic, children need to see consistency. Yes. Put that in the chat. If you want to develop a pathway of intimacy with your kids, and this is the same way with adults, they need consistency. Not want it, they need it. And the reason why is because I don't know if you've ever met a person that they're one way one day and another the other day. What it does is it causes you to be on guard when you talk to them.
Right.
Or when you deal with them. Maybe it's somebody you work with. Maybe it's somebody that you go to school with. Maybe it's somebody that you're in relationship with. But every time you turn around, it's a different them, right? And so in your mind, you're wondering, well, what them am I going to talk to today?
Right.
You get what I'm saying, Instagram? They're like, well, which one of them is going to show up today? Well, when a child is in a relationship with an adult, particularly with their parent,
right,
and they feel like you are one person one day or in one setting, you're one person at church. Let me bring this home. And you're another person home. You're one person at your job when they call you at phone. Hello?
Hello, this is Miss Brooks. How are you doing?
And then when you with them, it's like, what
the
you
heck
want?
Wrong with y'all?
What you want?
Right, yeah.
Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Be the authentic you. Whichever one of them person is the real one, be that one.
Right, right. And I wanted to speak to something. Nikkei made an excellent point. She was saying this is very different than how she was raised. You were taught to be one way at home and to be another way when you went to a visitor's house. The dysfunction in that is that we teach our children, so you ain't got to have manners at home. We're going to just deal with table manners. So when you at home, you can eat however. Whatever you're eating with your hands, whatever. But then you want them when you
or
go
without
out,
hands, however that looks.
Right. But when you go out, they're supposed to act like this perfect little, well-behaved, well-trained. You haven't trained them to do that.
Right.
Because you don't practice it at home.
Do me a favor, guys. Put in the chat. Practice makes permanent.
Right.
Put it in the chat. Practice makes permanent. Go ahead, baby.
The role of a parent is to train your children. If you don't train them good behavior, if you don't train them good manners, if you don't train them the proper way to respond and communicate with people at home, how do you expect them to just by osmosis get it and do it when they're out in public? And this is why kids do things out in public that embarrass their parents. The parents pissed off.
Right.
And then they mad because it's like, you know better than that.
Right.
No, they don't because you don't make them do it at home.
You got better home training than that.
You
no,
haven't
they don't.
trained them how to behave the way that you want them to behave in public.
Correct.
You haven't trained them to do that at home. You just tell them, now know that when we go out, you're supposed to eat with your fork and your knife.
They don't remember that.
But at home, they at home the majority of the time.
Guys, let me help y'all understand fundamentally what training is. Training is repetitive behavior done over and over and over and over and over again until it becomes permanent. When you go into training on an issue, I don't care what it is the repeating of the same thing over and over and over and over again until you learn it. Right. Would you say to your child, walk at home but crawl in public? Would you say to your child, you know what, you can eat with your hands and no silverware at home, but use it in public? I mean, no. Would you allow your children to sit down at the table and not listen, not even use their hand, put your hands behind your back, and let's just tie our hands at our house and let's just eat in the plate with our face like we're a dog?
Right. You can put your plate down on the
floor. You can put
your
plate and you can eat with the dog. Would you do that? No. No, you wouldn't. Culturally, we can't. I ain't messing with you. But no, Nikkei, no. And that's the challenge because here's the inconsistency. All we're saying is to be authentic.
Right.
If you're going to do that.
Because you're teaching them not to be authentic.
Then don't get pissed off when they do it in public.
Right. Right.
You don't get to have it both ways. That's the only point we're making because what we're doing is we're sending mixed messages and now we're expecting a child to decipher in which place to use it. And we're using an extreme example. Got it. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. But what I want you guys to understand, what's going on, Jermaine? Good to have you on the feed, brother. What I want you guys to understand is that when you show up as a parent and you're inauthentic in every area of your life or in multiple areas of your life, what happens is it throws your kid off and they don't know who the real mom or dad is. And so therefore it breaks their connection with you and it impedes, I guess it's probably a good word, their ability to connect to you. Let me move on to the three things that we're going to build on. These are just recapping from last week. And we're going to talk about these next three things for today. And loosely, I based some of these things off of some stuff that I put in a book called Managing Students Through Relationships, Not Rules. It's a book I wrote a couple of years ago, particularly to educators who were trying to manage students that weren't their own, right? But it also works for parents who are, hey, what's going on, Uncle Joe? What's going on? Good to see you on Instagram. Listen, guys. This book works well for parents as well. If you want to get a copy of that book, just go to our website, www.thecrcoach.com. You can find out more about us there, how to join our Relationship Academy if you want to be a part of that as well. But I want you to get ready to write down these next three things. So last week we said be available, be aware, be authentic. Today we're going to say number four is to be approachable. Is to be approachable. Now I want to deal with this for a quick second, Sheri. I think that one of the challenges I know that I had in the beginning, until I understood my mother's personality, when we were growing up, our parents didn't do the greatest job of communicating with words with us what they meant when they said certain things. When I say our parents, culturally, it was understood as kids just do what you're told, right. and they didn't do a lot of over explaining things. I'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. And so what we had to do is kind of take cues by their facial expressions. You just kind of had to know, right? You just kind of had to know, well, look, she looking like this, that mean this. She's looking like that, that mean that. And you kind of had to know when you're sitting in church and you just kind of picked it up, right? Now, here's the challenge was. For me, I remember my sister and I being afraid to approach my mom because her posture said, don't talk to me. Mm-hmm. Candace, you probably over there crying, laughing. We would be like, don't say nothing. And here's how it would look. No, you tell her. 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 No, you tell. You ask. No, you ask. And there's this fear. Now, some of it is just childlike.
Right.
But sometimes it's because there's a posture. See, because there were other people in our family who, no matter what, you felt like you could always approach them. For me, it was our Aunt Ray. I had an aunt, my mother's youngest sister. No matter what was going on, you always felt like you could talk to her. She just was like she just was just so approachable. And I had to ask myself, what's the difference? What's the difference? Oftentimes, guys, really is not necessarily who you are, but it's how you show up, and it's your expressions on the outside. I never will forget, as a grown person, having a conversation with my mother. Now, I characterize this by saying I was already grown, guys. I was grown already when I said this. I said, hey, Ma, I said, when we were kids, we were scared to talk to you sometimes. She said, really? And she started laughing. She said, why? And if you know my mother, she's the sweetest person, but my mother's a great thinker. And when she starts thinking, her face frowns and it gets prune-like because she's like really intent in her thought. And she'll go into another world, right? And you're like, oh God, mommy's mad. I don't know why we equate this whole, I don't know what we equated that as being mad. And we wouldn't talk to her. She fell out laughing as an adult. I said, do me a favor, Ma. Now, I'm an adult. I said, when I say this to her, I said, the next time I said, she said, well, nothing was wrong. Most often, nothing's wrong. I'm just thinking. I said, I know it. I said, do me a huge favor. I said, next time that happens, even now, can you just notify your face? She fell out laughing. I said, just notify your face that nothing's, because the people out here don't know that. Right. So you're walking around in deep thought and everybody else around you is saying, I ain't talking to her. I am not messing with her because she got a face. That's because our body language says, don't ask me you know what. Right. Does y'all ever walk downtown in any major city? I know they have this downtown Baltimore all the time. These big old T-shirts and and they so tired of people bumming money off of. They said, don't ask me for you know what, right? But that's the way people's posture sometimes. Parents, listen to me really carefully. When your demeanor says, don't talk to me, they won't.
Right.
That's all I want you to really get out of this. Approachable means fix your face. Okay? Okay, I'm saying it nicely, Instagram. I'm saying it nicely. Okay, guys, listen. Approachable means fix your face.
And the way to do that is don't take yourself so serious.
Right.
You have children. You need to loosen up so that they can feel like they can approach you. And I know I was guilty of that when my daughter was young.
Tiara, you stupid. I ain't messing with you. Talking about resting mean face.
As a single parent, I was stressed a lot.
Right.
But when I got home, I needed to learn how to disconnect from that.
Right.
To be able to leave that, and then be able to be there and be a mother. Just be approachable to her. But I was always so focused on everything that I had going on.
And I get it.
I wasn't able to relax.
I get it.
And allow her to see. And it didn't have to be all the time. I'm not saying you got to be all giddy and happy all the time. But they need to be able to see moments when you're approachable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We started watching that Netflix special, Raising Dion. If y'all have not seen the Netflix special, Michael B. Jordan is executive producer. Mm-hmm. He's starring in it. Mm-hmm. A bunch of new actors. Great. It's like a Marvel comic kind of a thing called Raising Dion. But it's a little boy. He's got superpowers. And he and his mother are going through. But she's sad because, and I won't tell you the story, but she goes through moments of sadness. And I love how he probes her about how she's feeling. Mm-hmm. And she'll stonewall him at first, but then she recognizes, I just can't keep telling him no, I'm not sad when it's clear that I am, because he's asking me because I need to fix my face. Mm-hmm. Like I'm wearing sad. And I think that unfortunately that causes a kid not to approach you. Now I'm going to tell you something on the back end. If you do that long enough, mm-hmm. Here's what that will produce. Karen said, #fix your face. I love it. That's a nice hashtag, Karen. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. That's stolen. I'm putting that on a t-shirt. That's stolen, Karen. If you see me walking around with a t-shirt on Instagram, just know that I took that one from you. I just want to give you credit now. So just want to. So listen, guys, listen. If you do that long enough, here's what it will breed. It will breed a disconnection. Mm-hmm. So that once your child is older, they won't know why, but they'll stop wanting to talk to you. They'll stop wanting to come to you. They'll stop wanting to engage with you, because if that's not corrected, then 20 years ain't going to change that. Mm-hmm. And so now they have a choice as a grown adult to not be around you. And you're trying to figure out, as your kids get older, why don't they come around more often? And one of the things that I'm learning, I'm in my 50s now, right, guys? And I'm telling you right now, there's no more pleasurable feeling right now in my life than when my grown children want to spend time with me. There's no more pleasurable feeling than that. And so I'm realizing that's where that stuff matters. Does that make sense, babe? Right. So now, number 5. Let's go to number 5. Number 5 says be open. Put that down. Be open. Be open. Be open. Now, when I'm talking about being open, Sheri, and I want you to chime in on this, I'm really talking about this. That parents many times, and this is where we said earlier, they have this thought that says, well, you can come to me about anything. Mm-hmm. But we really don't mean that. Mm-hmm. Guys, listen to me. Listen to me. Taya, you listening? You listening? Listen to me, guys. Listen, guys. IG, we look like we might lose you in a minute because look like my battery is going down. I'm tripping. I should have powered up my phone. But listen to me, and we're going to try and finish this up real quick. If not, jump over to YouTube if we go out on you, and jump on over to YouTube. But listen, guys, real quick. So you say you come to me about anything, but you really don't mean it. You really don't mean it, because what happens is that as soon as they come to you, you have a judgmental thing to say. Mm-hmm. You have
that's stupid. Well, why you think that?
You have to give them a teachable. It's always a teachable moment. It's always advice that we're now giving. We're the parent that they just want to talk. But because we always have to have something to say back, oftentimes what that says is that we're really not open.
Right. So when your child comes to you, and your child comes to you, so say they're in middle school, and they come to you and they want to share with you something that's going on with a friend of theirs. So-and-so is going through this, da-da-da. Your first response is, well, you don't need to be hanging with them because they're...
Right. I'm going to get something to plug this up while you talk.
I don't. It's a plug right
Yeah, I got one.
You don't need to be hanging with them because that's not, I don't agree with what they're doing. They ain't come to you to ask you that.
Right.
They came to you to share their concerns about something that's going on.
Right.
Or even if they come to you and share with you something that they're thinking about. Listen. Let them get it out. And then be open. And so I'll give you, so if your child, I'm trying to be respectful of.
Say it. Say it. Say it. This is real TV. Say it.
So if your child comes to you and tells you, hey, I'm done with school. They've had to stay back. And they're at a point now, they're at an age, they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Can I just get my GED? I don't want to do it. We have the mindset because we come from that you ain't going you gonna finish school up in here. Instead of saying, oh, there are options, and at this day and age, there are plenty of options. They can do school from online. They can finish high school online. They can get their GEDs.
Right.
A lot of people that have GEDs that go on to college. That doesn't
Absolutely
have to hinder you.
And people with PhDs that started out with a GED.
Right. So, but because we're not open-minded, we have in our mind how we want things to be, how we want the situation to turn out.
Yep.
We give them we're not open to a different approach, to a different way of them doing things. We just want them to do it the way that we see them doing it. And we're not open, and that shuts your kids down. And if they come to you after about the second or third time, them coming to you with something and you shutting them down, or you just going totally against whatever they shared with you or giving them negative feedback, they're going to stop coming to you.
Guys, I think that when we say be open, what I need you guys to really remember in this, and this will help bring it home. An open door is an open door because it's not locked when it's closed. Remember when you would come home and your mother said you left the door open? She didn't always mean that you left it
wide open.
Sitting open.
Right, you didn't lock it.
You left it unlocked.
Right.
I want you to leave it unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
The door can be closed in the sense that you can have your own opinion, in the sense of you cannot agree. I'm not saying you have to agree with them, but I want you to keep the lock off and be open to another way of thinking. That's all. Does that make sense? We parent based off of how we parent. Default parenting. All day long, Tierra. All day long. And here's the problem. When the default didn't work for us, what makes us think that it will work for them? So I want you to remember that being open with my child means having the door unlocked. It doesn't always mean that the door is going to be sitting wide open.
Right.
It just means that the door is unlocked. And so if they feel like they can come, they need to feel like that they can walk through.
And let me give you a little bonus.
A little bonus.
A lot of times as parents, we make big deals out of things that are not big deals. We make life or death decisions.
Right.
Like they're going to die if they do something that I forbid you.
Right.
Like this is going to alter their life over things that are not that important. So if your child wants to dye their hair purple.
Oh, Jesus, please, not the purple hair. She's talking about me, y'all. This is shade.
This is not. I'm not throwing shade. We've had the conversation.
Okay. You forgive me?
Yes.
And my daughter forgive me?
Yes.
Okay.
They are not going to become a horrible person in life. This is not a character-altering decision.
Right.
This is not going
God bless America.
They're at the age they're in high school.
Right.
This ain't going to prevent them from getting into college. This ain't going to prevent them from going into their career, their life career,
right.
if they dye their hair purple in the 10th grade.
Right.
11th grade.
Right.
It's not even 12th grade.
Pick your battles.
You're in high school.
Pick your
That's
battles.
What kids do in high school.
Pick your battles, please.
I think we make things that are not important, and then when they do have things that are important, because you've shut them down on all these little things, they can't come to you on the really important things.
Woo!
Because they're used to you always having something negative to say.
Girl.
Or not valuing their
And
opinion. And so when they have a real life decision to make,
you're not included.
They're going to make it on their own because they're not going to come to you.
Yep, we're not included in that particular point. Number 6, last thing, guys, is I want you to be honest. Be honest. Number 6, be honest. We said number 4 was be approachable. Number 5 was be open. Number 6 is be honest. Sheri, when I talk about being honest, what I'm really saying is speak truth. Mm-hmm. Speak truth first to yourself. Speak truth first to yourself. Speak truth. Put that in the chat. Speak truth first to me. When I talk about being honest, I got you, Tierra. That is the truth. We don't even want to get into my hair dyeing situation with me and my opinions. Child, that's a whole nother broadcast. But your man was a problem. I was a situation. And I almost lost a relationship with my daughter over. You get what I'm saying? It was crazy. So
hair. Over
some hair. But here's what I want y'all to understand. When we're talking about being honest, what I'm really helping you guys want to understand, I had to learn this the hard way. I did not have the ability to speak truth to myself for a very long period of time in my life. I couldn't tell myself the truth about me and where I was at mentally, about what was going on with me, about my motivations, why I was thinking some of the ways that I was thinking, the whole 9 yards. And as a result, guys, what happens is that if you can't speak truth to you, you will not speak truth to them. And so when you're honest with your children, there's a level of truth that comes from you to them that they can accept because they know, you know what, this is the way it should be. This is what I need to hear. Let me give you an example. When your children's friends tell your children, no, you should go tell your dad that. That's how your children's friends know that your parents can be trusted. People who speak truth can be trusted. Mm-hmm. The reason why you want to learn how to be honest is because you want your children to feel like they can trust you. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? And so when I'm talking about being honest, it's a character adjustment, really, is what I'm dealing with. It's being honest. I am going to walk in truth. I'm going to speak truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to tell you the deal. Now, what I will learn how to do is do that in love. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to shrink from truth. Does that make sense, guys? And it doesn't mean you giving standards that are holier than thou, or in other words, when I say speak truth to yourself, there were times where I had to tell my kid, look, you get a pass because I was tripping. There were times where I'd get into an argument with my teenage son and say, I was wrong. I baited you into that conversation. I provoked you. The Bible says, parents, don't provoke your children to wrath. There were times I remember raising my daughter or my son, and I realized, they are pissed off because you provoked them, man. You don't get to talk to people like that and that not provoke a certain response. Who do you think you are, and who do you think they are? They're human beings, for crying out loud. Nobody wants to be talked to that way. But when I can say to you, listen, that is my fault. I remember one time I got into an argument with my son, and he cussed me out. Listen, I'm just being honest. Cussed me out. He was probably 18, 19 maybe. 18, 19, whatever it was. Y'all, let me tell you something right now. I wanted to punch him in his mouth. But it was like the Holy Spirit said, that's your fault. You baited him into this conversation. You prodded him. And you pushed, and you pushed, and you pushed. And that's what you got in return. Now eat that. Be honest with that. Speak truth to yourself. And as a result of that, within 24 hours, we were able to reconcile. And we were able to work that thing out and work some stuff out and start working on solution because we had a very, very heated conversation that should not have gone down because I had to learn how to speak truth to myself. Be honest, guys. When you're honest with your children, here's what will change the game. It will bridge the gap and it will cause you or cause them to be able to trust you. So now they'll want to build a connection with you.
I agree.
Make sense? Mm-hmm. You good? Mm-hmm. Cherie's not feeling well, guys. Listen, we're going to get ready to get out of here. That's good, Glenn. Did that make sense? Ask yourself why you feel that way about that rule you're trying to implement. No, I love it. I love it. I love it, Tiara. Listen, guys, on Instagram, y'all do me a huge favor. Share this out. Share this out on YouTube. We'll be back. We'll probably be starting a new series next week. But Breakfast with the Brookses. I apologize for the technical delays earlier this morning, but I'm super excited that you guys came back, stuck all the way through with us. At the end of the day, here's what I know, guys. We all need some help. If you guys want to connect with us in the M.A.P.S Relationship Academy, do me a favor. For those of you guys who are here on YouTube, you can go to, and it's on the screen, www.thecrcoach.com, www.thecrcoach.com. Sign up for a free assessment. We would love to be able to see if you're a fit, and maybe we can kind of connect you with some of the different programs and different online group coaching environments that we have, whether you're married, a couple, single, parent, whatever the case may be, and then we'll go from there. All right? At the end of the day, we all need some help. Y'all be good. We'll talk soon.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys.